Hi everyone, this is Abel. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of science fiction and fantasy books that will be released in 2024. But before we start, remember that if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy books, especially space opera and epic fantasy, this is the perfect place for you. So consider subscribing, leaving a like if you want to see other videos like this one. This is by no means a comprehensive list of every science fiction and fantasy book that will be released in 2024, but this is a list of books that have been piquing my interest, that I'm really excited about. If you have heard something else, if you have any other suggestion, let me know. Leave a comment down below so that I will go and check it out, and so that everybody else that's been checking this video out will have more suggestions. I'm ready for all of your most expected books in 2024. Let's talk about it. We'll try to go in chronological order. So if I give a date, it is because that date it is being listed on Amazon so that people can pre-order a book. But remember that the publishing industry is in constant flux. Things may change. You'll see that in a few instances I will not have a specific release date, I will have just the month, because probably the author is still working. So they're not exactly sure, and at the end of the video you'll see that we have a working projects. They still don't have titles and they still don't have covers, but we're pretty sure they will be released in 2024. So you can brag about with your friends that you know more than the average Joe or Jane fantasy lovers. And please tell them that Abel Montero did the dirty job for you, to let you know more about the publishing schedule of our potentially favorite books for 2024. So there is a lot of stuff to cover. Let's start. The first one is Machine Vendetta by Alastair Reynolds. It comes out on January 6th. Actually, you can buy the book or listen to the audiobook right now, but the hardcover will come out next year. I've told you something about Alastair Reynolds in my last video when I was searching for suggestions about far future space opera on Reddit, and one of the first suggestions that I got was House of Suns, I think it was the title of that book. I haven't read anything by Alastair Reynolds, and I haven't read still the first two books in this series. I think it will be a trilogy. The other two are Aurora Rising and Elysium Fire. This one, I will tell you something about the synopsis of book 1 because I don't want to spoil book 3. It sounds like a mix from procedural investigation and the tropes that we love from space opera, so a huge and expansive setting. So the protagonist is called Tom Dreyfus. He's investigating on an attack. It looks like a terrorist attack with more than 900 casualties. But it looks like that the culprit, the attacker or the terrorist, may be a supernatural entity or an alien entity that is trying to conquer the corner of the galaxy when everything happens. It's been described like equal part procedural drama and space opera and character work, character exploration. And if you know me, that's everything that I want. So I'm pretty pumped about it. And I hope that I will be able to start the audiobook pretty soon, because the more time passes and the more audiobooks I listen to, because it's a very useful way to keep my reading mood and my rhythm going because I can consume my books even when I'm doing other stuff. So I will let you know probably pretty soon. On January 9 we have The Rest of the Gods by Joshua Walker. This is a novella. It is a prequel novella to a series that it's called The Song of the Sleepers. And it is about this. On the peak of the mountain pass, the Fourth Front War takes his final breath. The walls are closing in. The allies are dwindling. the last front is on its knees. It sounds epic, it sounds amazing. This is the beginning of a epic fantasy series. The author was so kind to show a teaser for the cover of the novella, and we have the title of the first book too. And if you want to know more, I suggest you to go and follow Joshua Walker on X Twitter and on Instagram. There's arc going on floating around. They will be floating around pretty soon. I think that you can still subscribe to this newsletter from Joshua Walker and ask to be part of the ARC team for this book. So if you want to be first on the line reading and reviewing this novella, go check those profiles on X and the account on Instagram too. January 16th we have To Challenge Heaven by David Weber and Chris Kennedy. I haven't read anything by David Weber, but it is one of those names that are so much loved, so much respected in the SFF community that I really can't wait to start and read something about them. Chris Kennedy, I don't know, but I respect him if he's working with some kind of a giant like David Weber. This book, To Challenge Heaven, is a third book in a trilogy. The first book are Out of the Dark and Into the Light, and it is about an alien invasion. It looks like there is some kind of political intrigue in a vast setting when we know there is alien life. There is a contingent of forces sent to Earth to investigate something, but it ends up becoming an invasion of Earth. And the two protagonists are two members of the army that will guide the uprising. It is a pretty common trope, but I'm pretty sure that those two authors will be able to give it an original spin. I've heard just amazing thing about this book and I'm pretty happy. 2024 will be a very good year for science fiction and Abel Montero. I'm ready. Let's jump directly to April when we have The Son of the Prophets by Brian Wilson. This is the sequel to The Forsaken Planet. I've told you about this book and I've reviewed it. I loved it. We don't have a specific date, but we are sure that it will come out in April. This is a mix between science fiction and fantasy. We call it science fantasy. It has a major school settings when a bunch of human beings are sent to an alien planet to be trained to become fighters and able to handle a great power that permeates the galaxy called Solara, because Earth is being invaded and it is at the center of a huge political and an intergalactic conflict. It is pretty interesting, it has a very good pacing, very good characters, very endearing, and I'm very happy to see that many other booktubers and people on the X app, formerly Twitter, have been discovering this book and giving more and more attention to this author. You should check out the book and you should follow the author because I'm sure we will see great things. On April the 2nd we have The Hidden Guardian by JDL Rosell. This is the third book in the Ranger of the Titan Wild series. It is a sequel to The Last Ranger and The First Ancestors. I cannot tell you more about the synopsis of this book because of course it's a spoiler. It is an epic fantasy book that has a fantastic setting and an amazing world building where Titans roam the Earth and there's a female protagonist. There's a bunch of perspectives through the various books, but the protagonist is a ranger, a girl that at the beginning of the first book goes through a very traumatic event that shakes completely her life view and it gives her a new purpose. And at the same time she becomes more and more aware of something that's going on with her. She discovers that she has actually finds confirmation that she's not like all the other girls, but not in that way. She's special in a very peculiar way. It is an amazing book. Josiah Rosell is a fantastic author. He's able to manage character development and plot, and imbuing everything of this, interweaving everything of this with very detailed and very fleshed out world building. I can't wait to continue with the series, and you should do the same. April 9th, we have Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. This is about a psychologist called Dr. Ophelia Bray. She's been studying an illness that has been affecting people that spend many years in space, and that recently resulted in a slaughter. And she's been sent to a colony, a desolated planet, to investigate what happened to the colonists. But something strange happened. So this is a pretty common setting, a small crew of explorers or scientists or workers that go to a desolated colony and something horrible happen. But I like the fact that the protagonist is a psychologist, and that the focus is on a particular illness that comes out from that kind of exploration and the time spent in space. So to me it sounds extremely intriguing. The cover is amazing and the author has made a name for herself with another thriller slash space opera slash spooky book. I think it's called That Silence. Yes, I think it was that one. So this one comes out April 9th. On April 25th, the Silverblood Promise by James Logan. This will be probably 99% a cover buy for me, because it's beautiful. Take a look at it. It is dangerously handsome as a book cover. And this looks like a mix between, again, mystery and fantasy. I like the fact that we see more and more of that the epic fantasy or space opera or techno thriller, it is mixed with an investigation that always works, that always hooks me up. There's a reason why we have so many procedural dramas on TV, procedural investigation that go on for 20 years, and they are never enough. The protagonist of this one is Lucan Gordova, that has to investigate his father's murder. And at the same time, the city when the story takes place is hiding something ominous, something really old, and that could result in the end of many people. So let's see how it holds up to the expectation of something that it is both murder mystery and both epic fantasy. In June, still we don't have a specific date, but we know that the release window is June. We have the third book in the Divinity's Twilight series by Christopher Russell. I have seen the cover, but I cannot share it. I've seen the artwork for the cover, and I can tell you that if you enjoyed Remnant and Rebirth, which were the first two books in the series, and if you did a cover buy because of the amazing artworks for those books, you will be mind blown. It will completely kill you, it will crush you, because that artwork is so incredibly beautiful. It has no right to be that handsome of a book. And I'm waiting to see the entire cover with the lettering, name and title and all the rest. And we know that the title for the book will start with the letter R, because Christopher is trying to have this kind of consistency with all the titles of the books. So enough me gushing about it. This is a epic fantasy story that has a very peculiar aesthetics, because somehow it looks like steampunk. It has those vibes, but we cannot call it exactly steampunk. And it is about a group of people that have to battle the resurgence of a ancient evil in a setting where a very ancient work changed everything and influenced in very specific and peculiar way all the actual environment, and influenced the cultures, the politics, the religions. Is very complex. It has amazing characters. I'm so invested in this series, and I will for sure start a reread for book 1 and book 2 in the spring to be all fresh and ready for book 3. So if you want to do a buddy read with me, let me know, because I'm ready. Let's stay in June for another bit. On the 11th we have the Stardust Grail by Yume Kitasei. This is a science fiction book about a former thief that has been dragged again doing the job. This very risky, very questionable job, because someone is asking for help to find a very ancient artifact. So I like the fact that the story moves around that very simple concept, and that our protagonists will have to face various obstacles, because it looks like a quest story, something that has the vibes of a fantasy story in a way, and that of course there is an ancient evil pursuing them, because this ancient evil doesn't want them to take the ancient artifact before. So the cover is weird. It looks like there is something of that eldritch spookiness that we all love. So let's see how it is. Echo of Worlds. It comes out in June 25. This is by M.R. Carey. This is the sequel to the Infinity Gate, a science fiction and space opera that came out a few years ago. I still haven't read it, but I have heard mixed feelings, but it leans on the positive side of most of the reviews. This is about a war between parallel universes, because various versions of Earth they have been communicating and try to improve our civilization, using all of those differences between those different parallel universes to improve our lifestyle. But something happens when a rogue AI is trying to destroy everything. The concept sounds really strong and really interesting. So let's see how book 2 does, and I will give it a shot, absolutely. August the 6th, the big one, the huge one, probably the most awaited book of the year for the SFF community, aside Stormlight 5. And this is The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey, the duo who created the Expanse series, those amazing 9 books and video games and comic books, and that gem of a TV series that you can still find on Amazon. They're embarking on a new journey. This will sound and look and feel different from The Expanse. It is set in a very far future that has all of the aesthetics that I was searching for in my last video. So it has a different look and feel, something more akin to the Dune maybe, and it has maybe a little bit of an exoteric twist. I don't know, I'm not sure about it, but it is about a simple assistant to a scientist that it is thrust to a brutal conflict. A race of alien is conquering the rest of the galaxy. It has a bit of a biblical inspiration, because the protagonist with a bunch of other young people is being forced to go and study in the capital planet for those alien conquerors, and will have to prove himself and be part of the rebellion. I'm so fascinated by this because I know that those two authors, they're so amazing with creating characters that you can latch on, that you can feel and to live settings that look and feel alive. I was so invested, and I'm still so invested in the Expanse that I'm actually scared to go and embark on this journey with this duo of authors, because of course my expectation and the expectation of the rest of the SFF community will be through the roof. So there's no way that we'll be all happy and and satisfied with this book, but we'll give it a fair chance, a fair shot. I want to be on the bandwagon of the lovers for this series. I can't wait. I can't wait. The last book with a specific date is Kingdom of Stars by Michele Amitrani. It comes out in October the 7th. This is the series is called The Omniologos Singularity. It is a techno thriller / science fiction / space opera. And it says like this, let's listen to this. The world will never be the same. The Defensio project, the last hope for free humanity, is divided. Rebel faction threatened to destroy everything for which the Omniologos fought. The archetype delivered a massive blow to the Way's followers, but there are two variables beyond anyone's control that will shape the world's fortunes. This is actually the fourth book in a series. I've read the first book in the original version in Italian many years ago. And I remember very little about it, but I remember that I liked it. And I know that the English version is a little bit different. It's been extensively rewrote, so I'm pretty sure that will be even better. So I will restart the series in English because I want to have the perfect experience with every one of you. So this is book 4, I think it's the last book of the series, and it comes out in October 7. And now let's talk about a bunch of books that don't have a specific release date, but they have release windows. Let's start with the autumn season, with the second book in the Shadowbinders trilogy by Andrew Whatson, which is not only a very good author but an amazing booktuber, and his Instagram is fantastic. It is one of the most aesthetically pleasing experience that you can have on Instagram. So you should check him out on every platform, on X too. But about the book, this is the sequel to Harbinger of Justice, which is an ancient Egypt-inspired epic fantasy, a bit of a dark story. I reviewed the book. I have read an arc of this, so it's been more than a year? Yeah, maybe? And I enjoyed it very much. It has very good character development. It is a very unique, very expansive and intriguing world building. The aesthetics are amazing. They can sound familiar because it's desert and beautiful cities, but it works in a very peculiar way. You have to read it to understand it. I don't want to spoil it. I think you'll love it because at the end of the book you have this satisfying ending because it is the culmination of the progression of the characters, but in a way it ends with a cliffhanger too, which is very painful because I want to know how it ends. So the book comes out in autumn. There will be a cover reveal at the beginning of 2024. And I want an ARC copy. I want an e-ARC of that book. So, Mr. Whatson, if you're watching this, I'm watching you. I want to read that book before all the others. So, but I can tell you that there will be a novella set in the same world building of the main series that will be coming out in August. For the winter season, on that release window, still no specific date, we have the fourth book in the Bound and the Broken series by Ryan Cahilli. It is called Of Gods and Ashes. We can expect it to be huge and expensive as the rest of the series. This is an epic fantasy series that starts very little and very cozy and becomes huge and epic and amazing. It is one of the most beloved modern epic fantasy series for a reason. It is that good. And if you haven't checked it out, you should do it. You have most of the books and novellas on audiobooks too, of course on ebook and on Kindle Unlimited too. So what are you waiting for? And if you have read it, tell me about it. Let's discuss it. I'm starting a reread from book 1 because I want to get to book 4 fresh and ready and remembering everything. This is a special one, a peculiar one. It is called Dark Town by Palmer Pickering. It is a lit RPG. It is special for me because I haven't read anything about this subgenre with fantasy or science fiction. I have a general idea about how it works, about how lit RPG works, but I don't know where to start. So I will probably start with this one because even if I don't know much about the genre, I know that Palmer Pickering is very much beloved between the SFF community, especially in the indie space. She has another series and a standalone. One is a science fantasy and the other one is an epic fantasy. The first book of the science fantasy series is Moon Deeds and the epic fantasy book is Heliotrope. I have heard just amazing things about those books, so I'm pretty sure that if I have to embark in a new subgenre that I know so little about, it's a good choice to go with an author that has a good reputation. So this sounds very fun. It is described part cozy, part bloody, all fun. And it often happens in this kind of subgenre. You'll see that I know not that much, but a few things I understand, is that the protagonists, they enter in another world, that it is often a video game. So they have to struggle to become more and more powerful and at the same time resolve a few internal conflict and advance the plot. It looks like there is a small town and the protagonist goes in under the city because there is another world, that it's maybe a video game too, and he has to explore it for various reasons that I don't want to share more, I don't want to spoil. Now, actually, the author, Palmer Pickering, she shared a work in progress of the blurb of the book on her X profile, so you should check her out. And absolutely, let's check out this book together, and I will let you know more as soon as when I know more about it. And absolutely, I'll give you a detailed review about it because there's something going on with this one that I may be involved as a reviewer. Let's see. I'll let you know. Then, still no date specific and no cover, but we have the 4th book in the Fractured Orbit series by Herman Steuernagel. And we have 3 books published. To this date we have Eclipse, Chimera and Resurgence. I have read Eclipse last month and I loved it. It is one of the most emotionally charged and character driven and approachable space opera that I have ever read. It is very funny, very deep, it has a very approachable world building, so even if you don't know, if you haven't read much about science fiction in general and you're a little bit intimidated by the idea that science fiction could be difficult and unapproachable and a bit boring too, this book will change your mind. So I'm really happy that the series is going on because I was sure it was a trilogy, but we have a book 4 and maybe even more. So I will let you know more when I know more about this. Then we have a new series, a new book from Dave McCreery. I have been in contact with this author because I have been really interested in his science fiction series that I've seen on Twitter. Will I ever be able to call it just X? Will be difficult. But the first book in that trilogy, which is completed by now, it is Reality Check. But this one is a high fantasy, epic fantasy book. It is that will be released episodically, and then it will be collected in a book at the end of the year. So we don't have a specific date, but by the description of this particular release schedule, I will expect it to be published at the end of the year. But of course, I will try to keep up with the episodical release. I don't know exactly how it will be episodically released. Maybe from a newsletter, maybe on another platform. We'll wait to have more details about this. But it is about a guy who died and then it comes back to life because he has a purpose. And it looks like, by the tentative blurb that I've got, which is still a work in progress, that it will be part of a group of people that is trying to bring justice to the land. And of course there will be a conflict about it, because there will be struggle between humans and gods. I'm pretty eager to know more about it, and it looks like it will be very original, very interesting, and really expensive. And I'm very curious about this strategy of the episodical release of the books. So let's wait to know more about it for a proper actual title, the definitive title, and a cover reveal. Maybe we'll let you know. Another Untitled book, first in a trilogy, is a space fantasy trilogy by Natalie Kelda. I have read River in the Galaxy, the first book in another series of companion books by the same author, last month, and I enjoyed it very much. But the review is kind of difficult, because the book is kind of difficult in a way. It's very enjoyable, but it has a few things that must be probably digested, and I will probably combine my wrap-up for December and January, so I will tell you more about River in the Galaxy in January. But this one, which still doesn't have a cover and doesn't have a specific title, it is about Balfour, which is the protagonist. He has committed the ultimate crime. He has been given nothing but love and compassion from his adoptive parents, but threw it all away with a tussle that ended in the death of a young man. Guilt weighing him down, Balfour is convinced he deserved it when he is captured by pirates and brought to a faraway galaxy. Barely escaping enslavement, Balfour finds himself an outcast in a city unlike anything he has ever seen. So, judging by the previous stuff that I've read from this author, I expect a lot of suffering, a lot of character development, a lot of trauma. So it will be very hard hitting, this one too. So I can see Natalie Kelda doing this. Thinking about our feelings. So let's see how it is. I'm pretty sure it will be amazing. But I will let you know more about it when I know more about it. In 2024, still no specific date, will be launched the first book in a trilogy by R.E. Sanders, the author of A Path of Blades, which is on my TBR. I am trying to prioritize it and read it sooner than later. And this is a epic fantasy series that it is settled in a place called Lands of the Twin Sword, and that derives from an in-world legend of two ancient smiths, the twins Hawat and Yutat, who forged themselves each a sword from star iron. Those brothers ended up in a conflict, and as they fought, the gods touched the blades. From then on, every time the twin swords have cropped out through history, it leads to strife, conflict, and great change. The author says it is not a spoiler to suggest that the fate of this part of the world, and maybe the world itself, rests on the eventual fate of those two swords. It sounds really good, and I can't wait to put my paws on a copy of that book when it comes out in 2024. That's all I've got for you today. That was a huge amount of incredibly intriguing books. Thank you for staying with me to the end of the video. Let's address the elephant in the room. In 2024 will be released in December probably the last book in the first arc of the Stormlight Archives. You probably don't need me to remember it to you. And 2024 will be the year when I will publish my first fantasy book in English, but I haven't disclosed the final cover. A few other authors and friends on X and on Instagram, they know everything about it, but we'll tell you more when the time comes, okay? Thank you for staying with me. And remember that if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy books, this place is perfect for you. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, leave a like, maybe ringing the notification bell so you'll be alerted every time I publish something new. Remember that you can watch more videos right now, clicking here. And thank you for staying with me till the end of the video. Bye.